This episode is brought to you by AJ Plus. Take 'em or leave 'em, but by 2020, the Millennials will make up a third of all adults in the United States. You may be familiar with their other labels like Gen Y, Gen Me, the Boomerang Generation, countless others. But basically, they are the people born between the early 80s and the 2000s. Right now, that makes them between the ages of 15 and 34. Full disclosure, I'm obviously a millennial. This year, they are set to outnumber the baby boomer generation, which is in decline. Let's break down the American generations for a minute. The millennials are the latest definitive generation to emerge, according to reports. Before them, it was Generation X, or people born between the 60s and the 80s. This generation came of age during the Reagan era. It's smaller in population size and a little more conservative. Before that came the baby boomers, born between the 40s and the 60s, named for the population spike after World War II. They are known for their rejection of authority as youths, and their increasingly conservative outlook as they age. Before them, it was the silent generation, whose members grew up during the hard times like the Depression and McCarthyism. Then, taking us back to the early 1900s, the greatest generation is known for fighting the Nazis and boosting the US economy. But coming back to the present for a minute. This year is the beginning of the age of the millennials. The Brookings Institution estimates that by 2025, they will make up 75% of the workforce. Their influence is already changing the landscape of the political and business world. What are millennials known for, though? Their defining characteristics, according to the White House, are exposure to the internet during formative years, more education and racial diversity than ever before, and unfortunately coming of age during a recession. They're also labeled narcissistic and lazy by other sources, although this is disputed. The Pew Research Center notes that millennials are overwhelmingly liberal. They generally support gay marriage, abortion rights, and are not religious. They hail from incredibly diverse backgrounds and are burdened with large student debt. Higher levels of unemployment have also plagued them worse than previous generations. A 2012 Pew study found that 7 out of 10 Americans across all age groups feel that today's youth had a harder time finding jobs, saving for the future, paying for college, and paying for a home than earlier generations. Although some challenges lie ahead for millennials, there is still time for them to figure everything out. The largest age group for the generation is just 23 years old. With about 80 million strong, millennials are poised to have a huge effect on the direction of the United States and the world in years to come. Millennials are more familiar with student loan debt than any generation before them. But what happens if they can't pay it back? Watch this video to find out. The Treasury Offset Program allows the U.S. Department of the Treasury to take your tax refund and give it directly to the Department of Education to pay down your debt. They're also legally allowed to garnish up to 15% of your wages, which means taking money directly out of your paycheck. If you want to make sure you don't miss our latest videos, also remember, you can subscribe. Thank you for watching TestTube.